Yes, everybody. Russ the West End there at Copious Safe More Pinch Punch first month and all that crap. But the 1st of July could herald the transfer window slightly ajar, potentially. We're led to believe we've got the new kits, or the home kit will be announced or revealed on Thursday. And potentially Daniel Cummings will be announced today as well. Who knows? And obviously we've got sort of that. Betway's gone. Long live Boyle Sport for 1 year. But in terms of my musing today, in terms of what I wanted to talk about, I want to talk about why aren't we as savvy than Chelsea and Villa and Everton and all these clubs? Why are they finding loopholes which we don't find? But they're continually finding these loopholes. And we just don't seem to be at the races when it comes to these types of things. And the reason for this is like, yesterday I think David Ornstein said in the Athletic that Villa have agreed a deal to sell their women's team to V Sports and a stake in the operation to prominent US-based investors. And that was to get around sort of the PSR sort of hole they may well have to sort of back up and get out of. They say there's no issues regarding the Premier League PSR rules and are close to resolution with UEFA in terms of compliance with FFP. But by selling the club to V Sports, who is by itself a parent company of Aston Villa, it's in essence they can write off a lot of debt by doing that. In essence, they're selling it to themselves, but changing name. And it's not just that. Chelsea did it as well. Chelsea did it. They sold it for nearly £200 million to Blueco back in June 2024. And in May, they sold an 8% stake in the women's team to Alexis Honoria, who's founder of Reddit and husband to Serena Williams. And they put in their value of their team at almost £250 million. Just over a year, Chelsea sold the whole legal entity housing their women's team to a company elsewhere in the group structure, and Villa are doing the same thing. And Chelsea banked almost £200 million in profit. Why aren't we finding loop? I just don't understand why we haven't found loopholes. You look at someone like Chelsea, and they found countless loopholes throughout the whole process. There was the whole a few years ago, Villa, Everton, and Chelsea did the sort of transfer merry-go-round with selling their academy players to each other. It seemed obviously that being academy players are almost 100% profit. I think kind of Jinwenga went in that sort of musical round. Chelsea also, that when they bought a load of players and then sold them and put them onto like 8-9 year contracts in order to sort of spread the payments across duration of the contract. Now, of course, it seems a loophole has been exploited, and the Premier League then put in place rules to prevent that loophole from happening and benefiting from those loopholes. But still, they found them, and we just don't seem savvy. And it might just be us are the same as another 15 clubs in the Premier League. But when you look at how I'm always like shocked that we never sort of release a club shirt in June to coincide with Father's Day. The amount of times my Mrs. Budden said to me, "What do you want for Father's Day?" And I was like, "Oh, the new shirt's not going to be out till July." And obviously, this year's a bit different with Bowl Sport and Betway, and next year will be different as well because Bowl Sport will still be our principal shirts thing sponsor until the end of June before a new one takes over in July. But I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. Why can't we find fucking loopholes? Why can't we find ways of doing stuff? Why can't we find creative accounting to make things work in our favour? we never have seemed to do it. We're always playing the pauper. We're always playing the PSR card. Um, Now, I think it was Jacob Steinberg said yesterday that you know, talking about despite the fact of this cash injection, we're meant to be believed that the club are going to be putting in. I call it a payday loan. Really, that's the way I see it. It does that. We remain adamant that we have still this need to sell to buy policy with a fear of PSR. But I mean, Chelsea don't give a shit about PSR. They've got £200 million, on that chart from the Athletic to say they can spend before they hit any PSR sanctions. But they're going to be posting like a loss of 200 million anyway. They're going to be back to like net zero, and yes, we're in a PSR position where we can spend apparently, but then there's the cash flow issue. We just always seem to be scrabbing around for a couple of quid behind the back of a sofa. And I just don't see us being clever. I just don't see us being, you know, it's an astuteness, isn't it? It's a way to, Chelsea seem to always abuse the system or find. They don't abuse it; they just find loopholes where they're actually at the time of doing it perfectly right in how they actually go about it, but then the Premier League cotton on and then reel it back in. It really does. It really does frustrate me, and I'm sure it frustrates a lot of you as well. Most of you, everyone. Why some clubs can act a lot more bolshy. Some clubs can act a lot more uh, not risk adverse, risky. Act a lot more risky. I just don't understand why we've never done that. And even less so now, because now we've got, now when we had a football operations, a director of football, they could look at loopholes and stuff like that. We don't have that now. So even the chance of us trying to find something clever, some clever accountancy, some clever loophole, which means we can spread payments greater or sell, academy players, and I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Now, some will say the reason why we don't do it is because it's a case of not, they're deliberately not looking for it, because then that would give credence to not spending money. Quite possibly. I don't agree with the narrative that we are looking at, we're deliberately not spending money because, they're happy for us to be relegated. No, it's not at all. In fact, I think the reason why we're doing this cash injections happened is to get a squad that's going to compete in the Premier League, that's going to be hopefully stems away from relegation, because the value of the club at the moment, compared to the value of the club in the Championship, will be 50% at least, won't it? If we went down, I just get a bit annoyed. I don't understand why others can do it and we can't. I think we're one of only a handful of clubs who have not bought anyone yet. Now, the whole, does the whole Caduce thing open up the possibility to start working, to if that's further down the line, then we can start reinvesting the money and bringing in players, quite possibly. Does the Caduce, if the Caduce sale happens, because I think his release clause actually comes into effect today, isn't it? So either today or the end of June or the mid-July, something like that. Does that give the board enough confidence to then put the money in, knowing they'll get it back, so to speak? Because that's what will happen. All right, it's not really, it can't be a loan as such, but the money will definitely find its way back into the coffers. I don't know, but I just find it strange how what we can't do what Chelsea do, we can't do what Villa do. I suppose what's interesting is when you look at how we can. I mean, the women's thing is mental. how they can sell the women's team to themselves in order to make a £200 million profit like Chelsea did. Why can't we do that? Now, I don't think that our women's team is going to be worth £200 million, but still, you think that's the advantage of having a consortium, a company own the club rather than necessarily a bunch of individuals, because obviously that can go within the books in the company like Blueco and V Sports and and so on and so forth. But why can't we do it? Why can't we do it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm sure there's going to be lots of interesting interesting things that come about and different comments and stuff. Anyway, yeah, what we'll do, I tell you what we'll do. We'll do a draw. What have we got here? Nice. Yeah, we'll give something away. A sign. What we got here? What can we give away? It's signed. What we got here? Oh, that's nice. Oh, maybe we'll keep that. That could be for the players' draws. We will give away. I'm trying to see what I've got here. What can I give away? What can we give away? Let's give something away. I don't know whose signature that is. I'll tell you what, I'll give this away. I've got some nice bits, actually. Nice bits for the members' draw, which we'll do later on. Give away a signed Phil Parkes photo for a random comment in the comments of this video. We'll do that on Wednesday. I'll draw that and put it up on the community tab. So be a subscriber as well, so you don't miss out. Make a comment, any comment. The more comments, the more chances you are of entering. The more times you comment off other people, as long as they're nice, as long as they're not, as long as they're respectful of each other. Emojis, all that, separate comments, all that type of stuff. Let's get this going, and we'll be back later on with hopefully, maybe a player announcement. Maybe. Much love. Bye-bye.